Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Flag. I'm your host, Lukas Wacker, and with me, as always, we have Kyle Cushman. And today we have a very special guest. We are joined by the driver of the number 24 Canac Chevrolet Silverado for GMS Racing in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series and fellow Canadian, Raphael Lessard. Raphael, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on your show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So you come from quite the racing background, Raphael, with your father starting on dirt and eventually switching into pavement. What role would you say that he played with you becoming a race car driver?
I would say he's growing up, he was the guy I always look up to in his racing. He raced dirt before I was born, and then he switched to asphalt. But it was always just for fun. It was always a passion for him, but he never wanted to move up. It just he would drive trucks. He owned his company and his own truck his whole life, and he would work during the week, and then during the weekends go race at three racetrack, like Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. It was pretty crazy, but he's been a huge help for me, that's for sure. He's the one that got me into racing. I was 11 years old. He bought me my first race car, and then that's when it all started, and we did pretty good. I would say he gave me some really good advice.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned 11, but then a year after that, for your 12th birthday, you were victorious in your first ever race back home in Quebec. What do you remember about that day specifically?
Yeah, so July 5th is my birthday, so I started the season at 11, and then my third race was on my birthday, July 5th, and I won. I remember everything about it. It was awesome. I think I started third, took the lead pretty early, and then I just never looked back. I didn't know. I knew when you get the lead, sometimes people get super nervous and you make mistakes. So I just put my head on the seat, and I was kind of cruising, and I was thinking I was on my couch at home, and I didn't want it to make mistake or get nervous. And then I made it happen, but it was it's one birthday that has been hard to beat, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I want to look at 2019 now. You made a handful of Truck Series starts, but I think the big thing was your first ever start in the Pinty Series, and you went out and won it at the Autodrome Chaudière. I know it was a rain-shortened race, but how special was it to win in your home province in your first race in Canada's Top Series?
It was awesome. I remember heading to that race. I didn't know what to expect, really. It's people that grew up watching at my own track every year. They would come once a year, and then they would always put on a good show, and it always seems really competitive. And I didn't know what to expect, honestly. I was just going there, and I had tested there with my teammate, LP Dumoulin. We tested during that same week of the race, one day, just to get some lap in, and then I made them change some stuff on the car that I didn't like about the platform and all that stuff. And at one point I was like, damn, LP is like, I think he qualified on the pole or something like that, and I qualified 6th, and I was like, maybe we didn't change the right stuff. So I'm like, all right, we'll just go one lap at a time and see what we got, and I'll take my time. I know the racetrack really well. I know I can run the outside, I can run the inside, I can run anywhere there. And I just never looked back. I mean, we started the race, took the lead right before halfway, and then we just kept on leading, and we were really, really fast. I mean, I was cruising the whole race out front, and I felt like nobody could really catch us. I mean, John Fletcher was my crew chief for that race, and he made some really good adjustment at the halfway break. And I just felt like it was the right adjustment when we tested, because on long run, we were super fast.
Having raced in Canada and, of course, in the States, what would you say are the biggest differences in the racing culture between the two countries?
I would say I always say, like, if you go to Canada and you race there, the people that are there, are NASCAR fan, are racing fans, and when you go in the U.S., it's the same thing. But I would say in the U.S., it's more like a culture. It's a lot of people enjoy NASCAR, and a lot of people work in NASCAR and in the industry and make a living. A lot more people make a living out of racing in United States than in Canada. So I would say that's the biggest difference. But I mean, there's good race car driver in Canada, in the United States. There's awesome fans everywhere we go. So.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems like quite the culture down there in the States. But looking at stock car racing here specifically, what does it mean to you to be considered potentially the next big Canadian superstar here on the racing side of things, representing your home nation here in Canada?
Well, I mean, there's other good race car driver in Canada, that's for sure. There's Alex and Xfinity, and I wouldn't say I'm the next superstar because it's kind of I'm a pretty humble guy, but it's awesome to see all the hard work is paying off. I mean, we all done a lot of sacrifice. The people that believed in me since the beginning, like my parents, my team behind me, the group of investors that have invested in me since the beginning, Kanak and everybody that supports me. It's good to see that we're starting to get some good result out of it, and it's paying off. I mean, we still got a lot to do this year. We had a good start of the season, two stages, which is really good for points, but I feel like we had a lot of speed with my new team, GMS, and we just need to keep on focusing and working hard, and if we do that, I feel like the results are going to come.
A lot has been made about how difficult it's been for rookies these last year and a half, I guess you could say, with the lack of practice time, the lack of qualifying. So take us through the challenges that you faced over the past year, going into a new series with a new vehicle, new tracks, and having to go into races without having any laps at those tracks.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same for everybody, but in my case, it was my first time going on a mile and a half, going to a super speedway. Everything was new last year, so it was kind of a learning curve for me last year. I had a lot to learn, and I needed those laps of practice just to get used to the racetrack before the race. I adjust the truck like I wanted to be. It's been tough because most of the time we would throw away stage one just to get comfortable and get some figure out the racetrack, and then stage two you're starting to race and making improvements. But stage one, most of the time, you're like, people, the veteran, were making good adjustment to their truck because they knew what they needed, and like a rookie like me were just kind of, all right, I'm still kind of figuring out the racetrack. I'm not sure exactly what to tell you to change on the truck, so that made it pretty hard. But we just right now, we're so used to it now. I feel like we've done it all last year, so it's kind of normal that no practice. But, I mean, with a year of experience behind me right now, I feel like I'm a way better driver than I was, way more comfortable around everybody, and just I was pretty calm before the races and during the race too. So I'm really happy with the improvement I've done. Last year was tough, but I wanted to see improvement. And then from the second half of the season, it really started to get better result, run off front a little bit more, and then we got the win. So that was really good for my confidence as a driver, that's for sure.
Yeah, we could definitely see that as it comes over to this season. You started out pretty strongly, but let's look back to last year quickly once again here. Your third place finish at Daytona on the road course last year was your first top five in the series. How much time did you take to put into your road coursing racing side of things with your career?
Well, not a whole lot, I will say. I surprised myself finishing third down there. I was so surprised, but I had a really fast truck last year on the road course, and I just went in there without any expectation, and I just said, all right, I'll try to figure it out, and I'm just going to do my deal and try some stuff, and it ended up working really well. We had a shot at winning, but I made a mistake. It's part of the learning. And then I would say before that on road course, I ran one late model race at Three River, one Pinty's race at Three River, one Mosport race in the truck series, and then that's pretty much it. So I had 3 races on road course before that, and it's just, I guess, driving the snow back in Canada. Sounds good.
I love that. Well, you mentioned how you made a mistake and it cost you a shot at the win. Well, you made up for it later that season, of course, with the win at Talladega. And it came under kind of similar circumstances to your win in the Pinty series, as it came under caution. Take me through what was going through your head and the emotions when first the caution was called. Did you know you won right away? And then what was it like after you were told that you won the race?
Well, it was... I didn't want to tell myself that I won, because then second would have been terrible. But I just knew I had a fast truck at Talladega last year, and we put ourselves in position at the end, being third on the last restart. And I just, from the green flag to the caution, I just held it wide open. I never looked back, and I just tried to keep my truck straight, and it worked. I mean, Ben Rowe was on my bumper. Like, I thought I was going to spin out on the backstretch, and then I kept it straight. But that gave me a heck of a run. And once I got in 3 and 4, I knew I was coming like way faster in the corner than Trevor Bayne, and I cleared him. Then the caution came out. I lifted, and I saw that he wasn't lifting. So I went back to the throttle, and then he beat me at the line. So I was like, man, did I lose the race? Are they going to count that straight at the line? Or so I was asking my crew chief, and he was like, they usually go right when the caution comes out. And I'm like, I think I got this. I think I was 3 and 4 I was faster than he was. And it's just right spot at the right time. I would say it was a dream come true.
Was there anything particularly special about winning your first race at a track with history like Talladega as well?
Yeah, I wanted to. I was thinking about the Talladega night. And I was like, chicken bait. But
that's awesome.
But it was pretty special, because my crew chief, we made a lap and nobody was saying anything on the radio. Then my crew chief, we go in 3 and 4. And I'm like slowing down, and my crew chief says, it's obvious. And I'm like, come on, it's obvious. We lost or we won. And then we won. So it was pretty special, but I would have liked to be able to celebrate it with the atmosphere, with the fans and my family. I was lucky that my girlfriend was there, but nobody from my family was there, the investor, my sponsor, and even with the team, you could barely enjoy in Victory Lane with your team. You couldn't even take picture almost with your team. So it was different for sure, but hopefully everything comes back to normal really soon.
Exactly. I gotta wonder, what's it like being in the pack or leading at a super speedway? It's such a unique form of racing. It's the only thing there in NASCAR, and there's no other series like it. What's it like going 190, almost 200 miles an hour, that close to everybody else in the pack at a super speedway?
Well, it's being in the pack and being out front is so different. It's two style, completely different. I mean, when you're in the pack, you're half throttle, or you're barely wide open because you're gonna hit the guy in front of you, and you're just kind of drafting to him, and you try to break the bubble and to kind of give him a little shove sometimes just to help your line go faster. And it moves around a lot. If you got somebody on your door, on your outside, you got to be really careful because it can go away super quick. And leading the pack is, I mean, when I was at Daytona and I was leading this year, it was kind of my first time actually leading lap on a super speedway, like a lot of lap. And I was not even looking up front. If the guy behind me was hitting the wall, I was probably hitting the wall too. But you just try to block and listen to your spotter. Your spotter got to do a really good job. And my spotter, Tyler Mon, this year, he spot for Kyle Larson, the Cup Series, and he's been really good, and I'm really happy with what he does. But it's just you got to have that confidence between driver and spotter, and also the guy that isn't behind you. Because when you're leading, you don't want to get put in a bad spot, and most of the time you want to work with your teammate, because working with someone, there's some driver that really don't care and would put you in a bad spot if they can. And like I said, in the middle of the pack, you're half throttle, and when you're out front, you're wide open and you never lift, because if you kill that momentum a little bit, then that's when they're just gonna put you 3 wide, and you're gonna go from first to last in one lap. So it's pretty crazy, but I actually enjoy it. I've been studying it a lot, and it's just been good to me. It's just not the finishes that I wanted. 2 out of 3 races, but there's one that worked really well.
For sure. With that success that you had last season, you've moved over to GMS over the offseason from KBM. How was that transition to a new team so far? It comes with a lot of extra things. You were with Toyota for much of your younger career. Now you're moving over to Chevrolet this season, and you have a new home over there with some new teammates as well. So how are you finding that dynamic over there with GMS so far?
I mean, I love it right now. We've been really fast. I like the people I work with. The people at GMS is just like a big family. So we've been doing really well, and I enjoy where I'm at, especially the driver edge development program. I feel like it's been helping me a lot, especially working with Josh Wise, Scott Speed. We've been working with all of those guys, and they've been helping me not only physically and mentally. They've been helping me with my driver ability and adapting to different situations. And we spend time every week at the go-kart track. We make laps, as many laps as we can. We work out. We spend time on iRacing. It's just been really cool to work with them. You saw last year with Sheldon Creed how much it made him so much better. He was already super good, but now he's really, really fast. So it's cool to work with all my teammate from GMS. It's all people that I've raced against in the past, and I knew them growing up racing Super A model, and now we're all teammates, and they're all really fast. So it's good that you can push yourself, and we always got a competition together, if it's at the go-kart track, on iRacing. So it's been really cool.
So far this season, you've got 2 stage wins in 2 races. Is stage wins and stage points part of the strategy this year in terms of getting as many points as you can, or is this kind of something that's just fallen into your lap throughout the races so far?
I mean, it wasn't meant to be like, we didn't plan on having stage win like that. It's for sure, if we can put ourselves in position to have stage win, we will. But there's definitely like at Daytona Road Course, Sheldon was leading, and I knew I was not going to catch him, and I didn't have any points from being spun out on the first lap in stage 1. So I was like, all right, my crew chief Sheldon Creed actually pitted with 2 to go in the stage. So my crew chief was like, why wouldn't we get 10 bonus points by winning the stage 2? So we did. And it kind of put us further back in the pack for stage 3. And with green flag lap, we could have made it back to the front, but it was just caution after caution. So it made it really tough. But it depends on where you go. There's racetrack that you can win a stage and still start a front stage 3, because nobody is really playing a different strategy or pitting 2 laps before. But on a road course, you can. So it's part of different strategy like that. Honestly, I want to go for the win. That's the goal. But last year, if I look at if I could have had more stage point throughout the year, I think I could have made it in the chase, but it's just something that we're looking at because stage points are still really important. And they put me in 7th place in the championship right now after finishing 23rd and 26th. So it's pretty crazy to be 7th after all those finish.
Yeah, you were my pick the last 2 weeks on the show to win the races. So unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition for both of us. But
yeah,
we're looking ahead here to Las Vegas here for your next race. You got a week off here with the Truck Series not at Homestead this upcoming weekend. So you get a little bit of a off week here. But you go to your first mile and a half at Las Vegas out west here on the West Coast. And half of the Truck Series this season is on these kinds of tracks. So how are you feeling going into that race weekend?
I'm excited. I feel like I still got a lot to learn on those mile and a half. It's a whole different thing. I mean, last year was my first one, and by the end of the year, I got way better at it. But I still need to learn a lot of stuff about the aero and all that stuff in traffic and where to put myself in good position to be there at the end. But I'm ready. I mean, I've learned a lot, and I feel like I mature as a race car driver, and I just feel like Vegas is going to be a good test for us on where we are compared to the field, because the super speedway is the super speedway, the road course. I know I can be pretty good at the road course, but the mile and a half, everybody is all the veteran, and there's a lot of people that are super good at it. So we'll see where we place ourselves, but I think we'll be fast. I'm just gonna go for it like the last 2 weeks and just do my best, and I'm sure my team at GMS is gonna give me a really good Chevy Silverado to make it happen.
You mentioned the aero on mile and a halves. It's something that I hear a lot of young drivers talk about when they make that jump from short tracks or anything that they're doing and then making the jump up to the big track. So can you talk a bit about what that first learning curve was like once you got to those mile and a half tracks, and just kind of describe to us what it's like to be in the truck and feel the aero on those tracks?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a little bit the super speedway, but way different. The super speedway, you feel the aero, but it won't affect your truck that much. Like it won't get it tighter, like it won't turn or loose where you're sideways. But a mile and a half, if you're behind someone, you really gotta find the air. You really gotta go higher than he is, or a little bit lower. Because if you go right behind him, there's going to be no air on the nose, no downforce. It won't turn, and then it's going to get sideways on you. It's very different. And like you can be leading, and you're almost wide open, and you're telling your crew chief, "Oh, my truck is perfect right now." Then you get in traffic, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's not good at all. we're sideways." But I mean, that's why track position is really important. And the further you are back, the worse the air is. So you just gotta be mindful of it. And as a driver, as a rookie driver, it's easy to over adjust and tell something to your crew chief that if you get on front at some point, your truck isn't good enough because you try to make it so good in the dirty air that once you get it up front, you're like, yeah, the truck is just too slow now.
So we've talked about short tracks, we've talked about super speedways, we've talked about mile and a half, we talked about everything, but then the Truck Series is tossing a couple dirt tracks at you this year, coming up first with Bristol Dirt. What are your expectations? What are your thoughts going into those races as something that you've never experienced here in the Truck Series?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll go there with no expectation, and I'll just try to do my best and try to find a way to make it go fast. It's going to be very weird. I've been watching videos. They've been testing at Bristol in dirt cars. I saw this super late yesterday on Facebook at Bristol, and they're like way faster than a cup car. It's crazy the speed they got, but in a truck, it's not made to go on dirt. So we'll see. I mean, it's 2 races this year, and 2 races is very important, and you can't throw away 2 races. So I'm gonna have to make the best out of it and spend some time on iRacing, GMS got us the 2 weekend in a row during the off season in the dirt car, and we tested. That was really cool with all our teammates. Kurt Busch was there, and we were just driving, jumping from one car to another, and that was a lot of fun. I thought I really loved the dirt. Actually, it was it was a lot of fun.
You mentioned iRacing there, and I've seen on your social media that you seem to be pretty regular on that software. How much time would you say spending time on a sim prepares you for a race weekend? And do the laps that you put in on the sim really correlate to real life racing?
I mean, we're starting to use iRacing more and more, especially with no practice these days and no qualify. But I would say there's also the Chevy simulator that we use, but every week we try to get on iRacing with my teammates and the driver from Chevy, and just try to spend time in anything we can. Like we have some fun, but we try to try different cars, different track, just to make ourselves better at adapting super quick to different cars and tracks. So it's been a lot of fun. iRacing is honestly, I think the best simulation game out there racing-wise, and it's crazy what you can do. There's guys out there that race on iRacing every single day, and they're like computers. They're super fast, so the competition is really good. Sometimes we get frustrated when we run those official races, because there's guys that, oh my God, they got to figure it out on the computer, and we're still like we're doing exactly like real life, but there's always little tricks that those guys got that we're like, we're trying super hard to get there, or we pass them, and then on long run, they beat us by like a straightaway. So it's frustrating sometimes, but it's really cool.
That's awesome. I want to talk about this season coming up here. As I mentioned earlier, a couple stage wins so far this year. Maybe not the finishes that you've wanted, but you've got still some points behind you there in the top 10, as you mentioned, in point standings through a couple races here. What are your goals and expectations with GMS for this season?
My goal is just to make it into the chase. Because if we are lucky in the chase, then we can go for a championship and win the championship. That's what we want, make it in the chase, be competitive, run top 10, top 5 every race, and just try to win races. We know we got the speed. We just got to keep on working hard. And I've been lucky enough so far that I've been able to do every races this year. And hopefully we're still searching for some partnership to run the whole season for the end of the season this year. But hopefully we can get some good result, win, and it can bring some new partner with us.
If you keep up your performance right now, I'm sure you won't have a problem with that. We're looking ahead here, just beyond this season. You've got quite the career, I imagine, in front of you. What are you thinking here long term? The Xfinity Series, of course, is maybe the next logical step. The Cup Series after that. But what are you thinking long term here? What's the goal for Raphael Lessard?
Long term is definitely my dream is the Cup Series. That's my goal, to run full time the Cup Series and be part of the 40 best driver in the world. That's the goal, and I want to be long term. I want to be known as one of the best race car driver out there that can jump in anything and be good. So a little bit like people like Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, they just jump on anything and they're fast. So that's my goal. And short term is just we'll see. This year the goal is to win the championship. We want to win the championship or get wins, run good. I mean, the competition is really, really good, and we're gonna have to work really hard because it's not gonna be easy. But I'm excited. So far, I can thank everyone for the opportunity.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Kyle Busch. We have a little bit of time here, so I might as well. I'm obviously a huge Kyle Busch fan. If you can't tell by the diecast behind me kind of thing. So what was it like driving for Kyle? I know that was last season and everything, but the relationship, the dynamic there, how much did he teach you? What was that kind of relationship like on the off weeks and leading up to a race weekend as well?
Well, it started off from Super late model racing when I used to race Super for him. And before that, he kind of saw me race with David Gillen Racing, and we were always going for the win against his car that someone else was driving. Sometimes it was Christopher Bell. And then he saw me, and I got to drive in 2018 his car. And we're always super fast, and we won 2 races that year. And Kyle was a big help to me. He was always giving me good advice, and he's been a huge help in my career to get me those opportunities, get me an opportunity to go last year for a full year in the truck series. That was huge. Toyota also been a huge help in my career, but I can't thank them enough. And Kyle Busch is just so good. It's pretty crazy because that guy is very, very smart, and he thinks about stuff that a lot of people don't imagine him thinking about while he's in the car. And he knows everything in the car. You know, he talks about the race car like if it's his own body. It's really fun to learn from those guys and see why they're so good.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, I think it's time we speed this up a little bit, Raphael. We've got some rapid fire questions for you here, 10 of them, and just whatever comes to mind here for your answers here. So let's get right into it. So throughout your racing career, what has been your favorite race car to drive? I know you've gone from age 11 there till now at 19 years of age. What has been your favorite kind of vehicle that you've raced so far?
I would say probably Super late.
Super late?
Yeah.
That seems to be a common answer, it seems, amongst a lot of people, that the super late models is a fun car to drive.
So far, it's a Super late. It's just like it's built to go fast and turn left. It's low, it got power. I mean, it got everything to go fast on a short track. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy those cars, that's for sure.
I love that pick. What's your favorite part about being a NASCAR driver?
I was just racing every weekend for a championship, and it's always been my dream. So it's to be behind the wheel. That's my favorite part, 100%.
What track do you want to win at most? You've won at Talladega, but is there a track that you really want to win at? What trophy would look in the cabinet?
I would always say Bristol, but I won there in Super late. So to be different, I would like to win in all of them. That's for sure. But like if I look in the truck series, there's always like Darlington last year. I really love that place.
Yes.
It's pretty historical, so that would be awesome to win there. And also Dover. I always look at the trophy from Dover, the Monster Mile.
Nice. Yeah, Monster Mile.
It's a heck of a racetrack, so it would be awesome to win there.
You're driving the 24 truck. I was a Jeff Gordon fan growing up, so I got to ask, who was your favorite driver as a kid?
As a kid, it was Jeff Gordon.
Hey, there we go.
How about that?
So I'm lucky enough to be driving the 24.
Exactly.
Seems like us Canadians really like Jeff Gordon. All three of us had fandom for Jeff Gordon at one point or another. But what is something on your bucket list you hope to accomplish, both in racing and in life?
In racing, it's obviously to just be a successful race car driver and run the Cup Series full time. That's in my bucket list for sure. And life-wise, it's just one day to have the family of my own, place, a house, obviously. And now I'm staying in Mooresville, North Carolina, and it would be awesome at some point to be able to have a house here and maybe one in Canada, so I can go back to Canada and see my family. But yeah, it's to have a family of my own at some point, and hopefully I can have a couple of kids that drive race car.
That's a great one.
We've talked about some favorites. So what's your least favorite question that the media asks you?
It's hard to tell. I mean, honestly, I'm just usually, I smile all the time usually. So even when someone asks me a terrible question, I just avoid it and kind of laugh it out. But terrible question. Sometimes when they talk about money, when they talk about how much it costs, and it's like, man, I can tell you that. I can tell you that. Like, we signed some paper that we can say how much it costs. So it's like that stuff. It kind of they gotta ask it. It's their job. They want to know information and stuff, but it's just like, they're not gonna know it from me.
In a lot of sports, there's, a lot of athletes have their pre-race or pre-game traditions. And I'm curious about yours, if you have any superstitions or anything like that. Is there a certain meal or a certain time you get to the racetrack that you feel like you have to be prepped or something like that? What is the pre-race routine there for Raphael?
Right now, it changed this year from working with Josh Wise. We actually do a couple of small workout right before we put our suit on to get ready and reflex going, our body going. But I always do the same thing every race when I get in the race car. It's always the same belt first. I tied the same belt first. Earbuds, everything is always the same gloves. The wheel goes in before I put the gloves. So there's always been that routine since I've been a kid, that I've always done the same thing.
What would you consider to be your best characteristic as a driver?
I mean, just not scared. Just always want to go faster. Always want to improve. And if I gotta be aggressive, I'll be aggressive. I don't mind. And I'm not there to make any friends on the racetrack. I just want to win, and I want to be faster and faster and faster and just keep on improving.
I thought Canadians were meant to be the nice guys, but no, I'm just kidding. What's your favorite
on the racetrack?
On the racetrack.
Yeah, I'll love the racetrack.
What's your favorite racing movie? There's been multiple. You mentioned Talladega Nights earlier, but what's the top movie there for you?
I would say I really enjoyed Days of Thunder, for sure. There's another one that is really cool. That is Rush.
Oh yeah.
The Formula One movie. That's a heck of a movie too. It's been they're both, I would say, my favorite so far.
Lukas has given me a lot of flack for not seeing Days of Thunder yet, so I guess I gotta watch that one now with the Raphael Lessard recommendation. But finally here, last question to wrap things up. What's your favorite sport outside of racing?
Outside of racing, I mean, there's probably hockey, I would say.
Hey,
nice.
Good choice. Good choice.
So, I grew up playing hockey. My dad used to play hockey. It's in our family. My sister used to do figure skating. My girlfriend used to do figure skating. So for me, it was hockey. And it's always been, when I go back home, I always go play with my friends and have some fun. I really enjoyed it. I had to stop. I didn't want it to stop, but I had to stop because I didn't have enough time to spend on leaving every weekend and practicing every week in school and stuff. But it's always been a sport that I enjoy growing up.
Well, Raphael, we thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We really appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the season. We'll be rooting you on up here north of the border here in Canada. And make sure to go follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag Pod now. We have a new account over there. On Twitter at The Green Flag Pod as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And we'll leave Raphael's social channels in the link of the YouTube video as well. But for this episode, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman. Signing off for now. Thank you again for Raphael Lessard for coming on today's episode. We'll talk to you in the next one.